I started thinking, what does backwards compatibility really mean? Hello everybody, Jordan here. The PH is silent, and I want to talk about backwards compatibility with D&D 24 as opposed to D&D 14. Both of them are technically 5e. I can play this stuff with this, but I can't play this with this. So, what's the deal? So in this sense, it really got me thinking about video games. I have this Super Nintendo game and I have this Nintendo 64, and although the Nintendo 64 can probably play this game, it isn't designed to play. It's not backwards compatible. But with systems like the Nintendo Switch or even the Wii or the Wii U, there was Virtual Console where you could play those older games on your new system. But the catch is you had to buy them again. And I think that's a big thing to take away from the idea of backwards compatibility with 5e, is that although they're saying your older stuff works with your new stuff, really this is a long-term game to try and sell you the same thing that you've already bought. And that isn't necessarily bad. A lot of people like the new features of restore points and things like that on Virtual Console games for their Switch. It is worth the money to them to be able to play the retro games that they enjoy or might not have anymore on their new system. Now, I took a poll on my YouTube channel and we talked about what do you think backwards compatibility means for you? And one of the main takeaways was, do you want adventures to be backwards compatible? Can I play Waterdeep Dragon Heist using D&D 24? Or is it that you want monsters to be compatible? Monsters from all of the various monster books that I own for 5e, will they be compatible with 5e 24? And the final one was kind of a mixture of both. Do you want to be able to play old 5e classes with 5e 24, or do you want to be able to mix and match old 5e and 5e 24 and create some crazy hybrid of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition? It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. And here's kind of what I came up with. I want to thank my Discord because we were talking a lot about what this video means. I think that most most versions of Dungeons and Dragons or just fantasy-based RPGs are hypothetically backwards compatible, but it's not a matter of if it's backwards compatible, it's a matter of how much effort do you want to put into making it work. I've ran system neutral adventures that were surprisingly easy to run in 5th edition because somebody went ahead and did a lot of work for me and put all of the monsters from this neutral edition and found the 5th edition equivalent and made a big list. So as we're going through this adventure, I could easily reference the monsters and it was awesome. And it made me think of these adventures right here. So this is the original White Plume Mountain, and White Plume Mountain was reprinted for 5th edition for Old 5e in Tales of the Yawning Portal. And if you look at the two of these, not much has changed. The puzzles remain the same, the maps are the same, but what has, even the magic items are very, very similar, but what has changed is the monsters. So for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, converting old 5e to 5e 24, I think monsters, magic items, and adventures are going to be the three easiest things. Probably adventures easiest, and then we'll do another tier below for monsters and magic items, because they're not that difficult to kind of switch over and get the feel for. Did you know that when 5th edition came out in 2014, Wizards of the Coast actually published a PDF on a conversion guide, and it was how to convert some of your 3rd edition and 4th edition games and characters and items into 5th edition. And this PDF is still available as of recording this. You can go out and find it. I'll put links down below. But they specifically say that you're trying to catch the feel of this. You're not necessarily trying to convert it on a one-to-one basis. Like, what did the magic item or monster feel like, or what did the character option feel like in 4th edition? And now how can we make that feel like the same thing in 5th edition? So all this said, converting monsters, converting magic items, things like that, I think it's going to be real easy and it will be hypothetically backwards compatible. But when you start doing class options and various other things that are involved with just the new skeletal framework that is 5e24 compared to how classes were organized in 5e. 2014, the conversion is going to be a little more difficult. And it gets into a point of how much work do you want to put into it? And I believe moving forward, Wizards will help us with that work by reprinting certain things, and you'll be able to get a D&D 24 version of Curse of Strahd. You'll be able to get some reprinted class options that were found in Tasha's or Xanathar's, but they're going to be updated for D&D 24, hoping to resell you the same thing that you've probably already bought. And I guess that's the business decision of all of this. Like, I think that's what Nintendo does. That's what a lot of other companies do, because they own that stuff and they want to be able to reutilize it in a new light. And this new version of D&D 24 will be able to utilize all of these past options in some form. But it got me thinking of, like, what is really backwards compatible? And so I picked up a couple of games that I have, Knave, 2E, I've got Old School Essentials, I've got Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I've got Shadow Dark. And if you want actually a system that's backwards compatible, I would 100% recommend picking up some of these rather than Dungeons & Dragons 2024. So Old School Essentials was built to run earlier versions like BX and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and stuff. So the rules in this book, well, it's actually 2 books, but the rules in Old School Essentials will allow you to play a lot of these old modules. I don't need Tales of the Yawning Portal when I can pick this up as a PDF on DriveThruRPG, and I can run it like this tonight. There's very little, if any, conversion that I have to do in order to run that. And honestly, same with Waterdeep Dragon Heist in this. If I'm only using class options from this, if I'm only using characters made with Old School Essentials, I can very easily convert some of the saving throws that I need to convert to make it for Old School Essentials from Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And then it got me thinking about monsters. I looked at monsters in Old School Essentials. I looked at monsters in the original Dungeon Master's Guide, or the original Monster Manual here from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. I looked at monsters in Shadow Dark, specifically the Bugbear. And if you look at all of these different monsters, they're not that different. So if I'm playing an adventure and it says, hey, this monster, this Bugbear attacks you, 9 times out of 10, I can go to my system of choice, find the Bugbear there, and utilize that. I don't need to convert anything. I just have to use the already established monsters that I have for my edition. And this opens up a whole bunch of stuff, because I could run Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures using Old School Essentials or Shadow Dark. I could run Shadow Dark adventures using Dungeon Crawl Classics. I could run Dragon Heist using Dungeon Crawl Classics. Wizards of the Coast said that the new starter set for D&D 2024 is going to be the Keep on the Borderlands, which is right here. And if you want to play this today without the updates and have it be mostly the same, probably when it comes out, consider Old School Essentials. Consider running it with Shadow Dark. Consider running it with Knave 2nd Edition. All of these systems that work with the already existing module. And when we talk about backwards compatibility, I think what we really talk about is player options, because I feel like a lot of these adventures and monsters I can mix and mingle with all these other different systems, but player options, I can't really do that as easily. The tier of work to make that functional is very different. The work for me to add a Warlock subclass into Shadow Dark is a lot harder than adding a Beholder into Shadow Dark. And I could be wrong, but I feel like the people who want backwards compatibility, or who bring up backwards compatibility a lot, including Wizards of the Coast, are aiming that discussion really towards players. And the min-maxers of the community are already trying to find little lawyery rules to try and figure out how to game the system to find the most broken character ever. And if that's fun for you, that's awesome. That's great. But that's not necessarily what I want out of a backwards compatible system. And it's probably why I'm going to be playing Old School Essentials for a little bit longer, until at least some more of the D&D 24 books come out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think down below. How compatible do you want D&D 24 to be? Do you want D&D 24 edition? Are you waiting for all 3 books to finally come out so we can talk about how it's all going to work together? I really don't think we'll have a good sense of this new version until we get, honestly, the starter set. Like, all 3 books will be out and we'll be like, okay, yeah, you can play it. But until we see how they're designing an adventure, I don't know if we'll really see how this will work. It's kind of curious. And with other versions of 5e that are out there, like Tales of the Valiant and Level Up Advanced 5e, there's so many mix and match options for you if you are a player, and so many more adventures to come that are going to fly off the shelves. So I think your current version of Dungeons and Dragons is probably going to be fine. But again, if you want really cool backwards compatible fun, consider picking up a retro clone. And if you're interested in this game or Old School Essentials, I've got a second channel where I talk about non-Dungeons & Dragons games that I enjoy, and there's a whole playlist on Dungeon Crawl Classics and a couple videos on Old School Essentials, so you should check it out. Jordan's Jocular Junction, I'll put links down in the doobly-doo and on the screen. Thank you again for watching and subscribing and be awesome, and I will see you guys all in the next video.